It's a wonderful day in this place, and Samurai Jack Battle Through Time is coming out next week! So I reckon I'd talk about it, because I can. Fine, get on with it! I just wanted to get my own thoughts on this game coming out, just out there, just to give my own opinion on things. Because this game looks amazing! Yes! But in order to discuss it, I'll need to discuss spoilers for Samurai Jack Season 5. Hopefully I'll bring you a link to the Samurai Jack Season 5 review that I made. I was planning on having this talk when I started playing and recording the game, but I reckoned that would take too long, as you know. I'm the sort of person who can go on and on about explaining things for too long and never really quite cutting to the chase. So this is my chance to just do it here. So what is Samurai Jack Battle Through Time? It's an upcoming video game made by the same creators who made Samurai Jack, in collaboration with Soleil trademark, the same people who made the Naruto games. And it's set to release on Steam, the PC, which I'm going to play, the Nintendo Switch, and the PlayStation 4, and oddly enough, on mobile devices next week on the 21st of August. What this game essentially is that it's a hack and slash game where you play a Samurai Jack in an extended alternative look at the finale of Season 5. This is why I gave you a spoiler warning. Because apparently this game is canon, and this game is set the moment when Jack and Ashi create a time portal back to the past. This is where the story of this game comes in. Aku realizes he's in deep trouble unless he does something, so in a last-ditch effort to stop Samurai Jack from getting back to the past, Aku interferes with Jack and Ashi's travel through the time portal and sends Jack in a sort of time paradox where Jack now has to relive his most intense encounters. Friends and allies come to help Jack in his quest to finally return home, and familiar enemies make their appearance. There's going to be fights, there's going to be drama, there's going to be awesomeness all around. And Jack's general aim is to get back to Ashi because she has the power to travel through the portal. Of course, Ashi was formerly a daughter of Aku, who was trained her entire life to kill Jack. But Jack made her go through a redemption arc. He opened her eyes to the tyranny of Aku and challenged her beliefs, and she converted to seeing the good in everything. And Ashi and Jack fell in love, and tragically Aku took advantage of this and manipulated her daughter because she has his blood. But then later, Ashi managed to manipulate this back to use Aku's powers, including time travel. But according to this game, this has got a bit muddled up. So Jack's going to look for Ashi. Aku may or may not be controlling Ashi, or maybe putting Jack to dramatic psychological tests. That's the general plot of the game. As for the game itself, it looks like a highly improved HD version of Samurai Jack Shadow of Aku. If any of you recall playing the PlayStation 2 or the Nintendo GameCube, you might be familiar with that game. And in many respects, this game is kind of similar to the PlayStation 2 era. Except now we get the benefit of having a stylized linear combat game with an engaging story. Now, I've reviewed Samurai Jack Shadow of Aku on this channel before. That went through development hell, but it's here now. It was a cool game for what it was, but it was still pretty much mediocre, and you can tell that they just made the game for the sake of cashing into the show at the time. But hey, it was the closest you could get to living out a Samurai Jack adventure. The shell shading was cool, but the character design was... oh man, it was ugly. I mean, I know it's stylized, but Jack looked like he had his face hit by a shovel, and Aku had some terrible looks on his face, but more terrible than usual. And this game may or may not be shell shaded, but Battle Through Time may or may not be shell shaded, but it's definitely respectful to the source material. I can look at any of these character designs in the game and think, yeah, that's a good representation. Somehow, despite being implemented into a 3D environment, the essence of the characters as well as the movements and expressions fit perfectly well within the visual style of Samurai Jack. And what makes this game more special than the other Samurai Jack games is that the whole team put their effort into it. Much like the Simpsons game and the Simpsons Hit and Run, we got the actual creators of the show putting their full effort into this game. They even got people from Japan collaborating with the people of America, and they say that they actually like this show. And they don't mind the Japanese stereotyping, oddly enough. I mean, there's a Scotsman in the show, and I don't mind the Scottish stereotyping. Raspberries! They're blooming! Thank God for those raspberries. Note to self, that is a good place for raspberries. Because my dad likes to make brambles. Or bramble crumble. Or raspberry crumble. But anyway, the full show, the full cast, and all the writers and Gennady Tartakovsky himself have put their hearts and souls into it, and they've even allowed us to see some behind the scenes footage of the voice actors just passionately playing the characters. They just look like they're having the time of their lives. What a voice actor! Good to see the mechanics of the game and how they made that. It seems they have a lot of confidence in this one, and I'm expecting this to be longer than Shadow of Aku, because Shadow of Aku you could easily beat in several hours or one weekend. According to gameplay footage, there's a whole purchase and leveling up system, an upgrade system similar to Ori and the Blind Forest. I don't know how this game's going to be laid out. I don't know if it's going to be just a linear game where we go from point A to all the way to point B and it's a long epic journey, or if it's different levels and the time paradox, you get to choose which level to play. But from what I've seen so far, it's they're implementing all of Jack's combat knowledge here, not just with his swordsmanship or his bowmanship, but also his hand-to-hand combat, his adapting of other weapons like guns and robot claws, or going up to people, beating them down before grabbing their weapons and finishing them off. And apparently sometimes it's going to be in 3D environments, other times it's going to be in 2D platforming environments, so that should be fun, much like Super Mario Galaxy. And of course, what would a game like Samurai Jack Battle Through Time be without their epic boss fights? And sure, we've fought the Scotsman and Aku before in other games, including that weird Super Smash Bros. Brawl ripoff in Cartoon Network. In this game, they're not only just bringing Aku and the Scotsman for rivalry and boss fights, but they're also bringing in other characters, to my knowledge, are having their debut as video game boss fights. You've got Timango, the Soul Collector. Still impressed that Kevin Michael Richardson could make a voice like that when he usually does baritone characters. It's probably going to be a high-flying enemy who will spawn lots of creatures, that was a B, to try to distract you from beating him up. You've got Josephine and Ezekiel Clench, the American bounty hunter couple that Jack encountered on the train. Apparently, they show up in a pub at one scene. We get to fight the pair on the train, similar to that other episode from Samurai Jack. And tackling two bosses for the price of one will probably be a bit tricky. Yeah, that's another thing I'm hoping about this game. I'm hoping it's going to be challenging. I'm hoping it's going to be slick, smooth, and challenging. What you'd expect from a game with tons of enemies. Not that Shadow of Aku wasn't challenging in any way. There were some enemies from Shadow of Aku that were legitimately challenging, but there were other boss fights in that game that were underwhelming. All the boss fights shown here look very promising thus far. Apparently Jack's gonna go through his Season 5 get-up as well, and there'll be the Daughters of Aku as a boss fight. That might be intense. The parasitical alien creature from Season 5 Episode 8 will be a boss fight. Scary mirrors will be a boss fight, baby.
Where's that gigantic cholesterol giant sandwich with his flute babe?
There's going to be other standard enemies who are going to be scattered here and there. From what we've seen so far, we've got beetle droids, of course, but also some of Jack's more difficult warriors as standard enemies, like the shinobi warrior, that camouflage in that dark and that cool fight scene. The Imagandi. The alien predator bounty hunters that were able to track down and give Jack a hard time. Grasshopper. There's going to be some other boss fights, and apparently I looked at the Samurai Jack wiki, where they describe more about Samurai Jack Battle Through Time, and it'll list all the boss fights and allies, like confirmed allies, the Scotsman, Scotsman's daughter, the Samurai! Sir Rothschild, voiced by Rob Paulson. Do be careful, old boy. Ashi, of course. Honestly, by the time I play the game, I'll probably just mention all the characters for you. Although, when I looked at the wiki page, there was one boss fight that made me go... Should I spoil who it is? I know something you don't know. Oh, I don't know. Should I give it away? I don't know if I should, but at the same time, it's there on the wiki page. I'm really excited for it. Okay, tell you what. I want to show who it is, but at the same time, I don't want to show who it is. I want to save the surprise for you hardcore fans, assuming you haven't seen the wiki yet. Let's just say that Jack came back for round 2. Let's also say that this character gave Jack a really hard time. In fact, this character is so practically unbeatable in the Samurai Jack canon, I wouldn't be surprised if the boss fight itself was akin to Sans from Undertale, or Sephiroth from the Kingdom Hearts series, or any Dark Souls encounter. And I'm assuming that this game has various difficulty settings, so after I managed to complete the game on normal difficulty, perhaps I could go back to certain boss fights and play them on hard mode just to say that I'm the man! I'm the Samurai! Hey, what are you looking at? You're a sinister looking postbox, aren't you? You're probably just squinting from the sunlight. I heard that this game is also going to get a limited edition package. In it, there's a box containing the game, as well as several collectible items like posters, a statue of Jack swinging a sword through a time portal. I've always liked those kind of collector's edition boxes where you can collect some memorabilia, like in The Last Guardian, where you have a cute statue of Trico sleeping. So this game obviously has had a lot of effort and attention put into it. And if this game is a flop, then I'm still gonna love it because the people behind it just put so much love and attention to it. Gotta commend them for that much. And if I'm to say one last thing about my thoughts on this upcoming game, I'm gonna have to disappoint some fans. Remember what I said about challenging beliefs and Ashi? Look, fans, I know Jack deserves happiness and love after such a long journey. I'm sorry, fans, Ashi's not gonna make it. So, spoiler alert. At the finale of Season 5, Jack and Ashi went back in time to stop Aku. Jack slayed Aku, and Jack and Ashi were going to get married. But of course, since Aku is Ashi's dad in the future, and Jack slayed him in the past, that means Ashi no longer exists in time. Yet the creators took the painful liberties to delay the inevitable just to make a wedding scene more dramatic. Look, I can respect what they were trying to do, but all the fans saw it coming. And so the fans are just now demanding justice! Please give us an alternative ending where Ashi lives! Please can we see them get married and please let them have children! Look, people, this is canon to the story. And this game, in many respects, is also delaying that inevitable encounter where Jack finishes off Aku. Ashi's still gonna bring Jack back in time. Jack's still gonna win. But sacrifices have to be made, I'm afraid. And I know Jack deserves a happy ending, but making it back in time and finding peace is a happy ending in itself. I'm personally irritated by people who endorse a Cinderella ending. Look, fans, you can't interfere with an artist's vision. Unless, of course, that vision is terrible. No. Usually the most striking stories and works of art are the ones where characters accept things and grow. Or we learn something from characters' decisions. We all know the Cinderella ending. It's too predictable. And a predictable ending is not what Samurai Jack deserves. This is a mature story. This is a story about a man who wandered the wilderness to find any remnants of hope in defeating evil, and the sacrifices he had to make, and the people he had compassion for, and how they helped him in return. The creators have not said this specifically, but I have, because I'm officially a Bachelor of the Arts, baby. No, literally, I managed to get and pass my degree in contemporary art practice. And it was a bachelor's degree, so I'm officially a Bachelor of the Arts. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You see, art is meant to challenge people. It's meant to give people insight. And in my viewpoint, it's meant to build society. Help them learn something about society and culture. Convey truths and give eternal hope, because it's amazing how fictional stories can say more truthful things than real life events. I mean, hey, art tells more truth than politics, am I right? So, there you go. Those are my thoughts on Samurai Jack Battle Through Time before it came out. I can't wait to play it next week, and undoubtedly you're looking forward to watching it. So to summarize, the game looks awesome. I'm glad the creators have extended the story in this way. Don't get your hopes up with Ashi, and maybe look forward to a particular boss fight in which a certain YouTube animator looked into. And one last thing. Everyone's insisting, let Chicken Jack... Did you get that? Nah. There have been fans who have insisted, let Chicken Jack be downloadable content for this game. I have a better idea. How about an entire prequel episode in which we get to relive the events of the birth of evil as Jack's father, the Emperor, armed with just a sword. You have to take out Aku in an even more difficult boss fight. Now, how's that for DLC? God willing, this will be the most hyped up licensed game of all time.